fallen from heaven, O morning star, son of the dawn. You've been cast down to the earth. You who once laid low the nations, you said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit enthroned on the Mount of Assembly, on the utmost heights of the sacred mountain. So what Lucifer was really saying there was that he desired to become like God and to sit, as it were, in his seat. And that's the promise, according to the Bible, that he's been making to humanity since the dawn of time. When he first tempted Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, he said, when you eat of this fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you will become like gods yourself. It was the promise that we ourselves could somehow become divine, which was his aspiration. The Scottish Enlightenment really was something transplanted from France and the things which were happening over there. And in France, you had the first encyclopedia produced over there, and most of the people involved in writing this were themselves Freemasons. And I think when you look at some of these writings, you'll find that they're not very anti-God in what they say, but they just never refer to him. And then you get to the end of maybe having read a whole encyclopedia, and you look at it and you say, well, I've read all that there is to know about human knowledge, and I see no God in there. Perhaps that's because there is no God. Voltaire, again in the writing at this time, he said, when I first read Plato and came upon the gradation of beings which rise from the lightest atom to the supreme being, I was struck with admiration. So again, you've got this kind of process of evolution from molecules right the way up to the most complex thing, but actually ending in God. So Darwinian evolution starts with the first life form and goes up to human beings. But actually, when you look at the background of this philosophy, it stretches from atomic particles into godhood. Then you have the modern Freemasonry and Sir Francis Bacon. Now, he was a leading Freemason, but he was also the founder of the Royal Society, which even today is probably the UK's leading scientific institution. And so these Freemasonry kind of ideas were very much around in these circles. Now, this is a bit of a side. You've got Adam Smith, again a leading Freemason, and he was the father of capitalism. And in the Bible it says that the prime rule is that we should love God with all our hearts, all our souls, all our minds, and all our strength, and to love our neighbour as ourselves, that we're to be kind and generous to other people. Now, Adam Smith turned this on his head, and he said, actually, the world will work best with enlightened self-interest, a kind of a survival of the fittest, but when applied to money and economics. And he said, if we look out for our own needs first, then we'll have much more to give to other people, and in the end, everything will work out better. And then, if you look at the bottom, you can see in Edinburgh that was the G8 summit. When that happened, thousands and thousands of people gathered in Edinburgh to ask for the debt to be dropped to the third world. This is one of the results that the global capitalism has brought. And many of these philosophies which are championed in the Enlightenment, we see them starting to come apart in our time and not really working as they were meant to. Another guy from the Enlightenment period, James Burnet, Lord Monboddo. Now, a High Court judge called Lord Neves knew that this guy, Monboddo, had evolution a long time before Darwin, and he wrote this poem about him. He said, though Darwin now proclaims the law and spreads it far abroad, the man who first the secret saw was honest old Monboddo, the architect that President takes of him who bears the hoddo. So up and at 'em, lands of cakes, will vindicate Monboddo. So he was saying that this guy Monboddo had the theory of evolution a long time before Darwin ever did. And if you look there, there's the Canongate Freemason Lodge, one of the oldest Freemason lodges. And there's Monboddo in the corner, and there's Robbie Burns being made the poet laureate at that time. Now here are some of Monboddo's writings and thinkings. Those whom I call truly philosophers, such as Pythagoreans, Plato and Aristotle. And then another quote, now I think it is not at all probable that the Indians invented so great a science. It came from Egypt. So he's looking at scientific thought and thinking, it must have come from Egypt because it's pretty complicated. I don't believe it could have come from India because it would be more simple. But then he was rebuked by Sir William Jones, who disagreed in a letter to Monboddo and said the Brahmins were the originator of this philosophy, again saying it was the Hindus that it came from. Now, Monboddo believed that humans had come from orangutans. He said the orangutan is the animal between the monkey and man. There are, I know, many who will think this progress of man from a quadruped and an orangutan to men, such as we see them nowadays, very disgraceful to the species. But they should consider their own progress as an individual in the womb. This is no better than that man is no better than a vegetable. If therefore there be such progress in the individual, is it not to be that there should be progress also in the species, from the mere animal up to the intellectual creature? Now, Monboddo was a contemporary of Erasmus Darwin, who was Charles Darwin's grandfather. Now, Charles Darwin was not alive at the same time as Erasmus Darwin. Their lives, I don't think, coincided at all. But you can see in Erasmus Darwin's writings pretty much the full theory of evolution, but not as a completely biological process, also as a spiritual one. And this is in his book Zoonomia. Complex life, might have been gradually produced from very small beginnings, increasing by the activity of its inherent principles, rather than by sudden evolution of the whole by almighty fiat. What a magnificent idea of infinite power, the great architect, of the infinite power, the great architect. And this is a poem that Erasmus Darwin wrote. And you'll see in here ideas similar to the Big Bang and evolution. And again, finally ending up with godhood. Hail to the bard who sung from chaos hold, how suns and planets formed the whirling world, how sphere on sphere earth's hidden strata bend, and caves of rock her central fires defend, how the first embryon's fibre, sphere or cube, something like a cell, lives in new forms, a line, a ring, a tube, closed in the womb with limbs, unfinished laves, sips with rude mouth the sultry waves, seeks round its cell the sanguine streams that pass and drink with crimson gills the vital gas, weaves with soft threads the blue meandering vein, the heart's red concave and silvery brain. So you have something there which is kind of fish-like, and then leads the long nerve, expands the impatient sense, and clothes its silken skin the nascent ends. Earth, erewhile emerging from its liquid bed, it lifts in gild ere its nodding head. The light's first dawn with trembling eyelid hails, with lungs untaught arrests the balmy gales, tries its new tongue in tones unknown, and hears the strange vibrations with unpracticed ears, seeks with spread hand the bosom's velvet orbs, with closing lips the milky fount absorbs. And so there you've got a mammal, and compresses the dulcet, and compressed the dulcet streams, drinks warmth and fragrance the living rill, till step by step, aspiring trod, you climb from nature to the throne of God. And here we've got a photo of David Hume, one of the philosophers in the Enlightenment, and you can see him there sitting on a throne, almost as a god, outside Edinburgh's Law Court. If you've been on the Royal Mile, you've probably walked past that. Here's some more writing from Erasmus Darwin. From thus meditating on the great similarity of the structures of the warm-blooded animals, and at the same time the great changes they undergo both before and after their nativity, and by considering in how minute a portion of time, many of the